This reminds me of the country blue ducks of the 80s and 90s, which is kind of nostalgic, but also a little mortifying because it's reminding me of some horrid design decisions I've made through the years.
My name is Shawn, and 4 years ago, I made a decision that changed everything. I was done working for anyone else. That very day, I became a small business owner, a creator, a maker, and the CEO of my home in this beautifully chaotic life that I'm learning to navigate. This is the unfiltered version of my life lately, the real, the messy, and the magical parts of building something that's mine.
Hello, my curious friend, and welcome back to the cottage. Today we are outside and I am going to be working on a commission piece, or rather pieces. A very good friend of Scott's has 3 pieces that he wants me to transform, and by transformed I mean he wants them all painted the same shade of blue. Today we're going to focus on the foundation of your project, because foundation is everything. Without the right foundation, your project's not going to last, it's not going to stand up to anything, and it's just going to slide off. Now I am going to cover the step-by-step absolute basics to getting the foundation to where you need it for your project, but if there's any questions you guys still have, be sure to drop them down below in the comments and I will get back to you guys. Because he did give me a little bit of liberty with this, I'm actually going to try to stain the tops, so we'll be stripping them. The bodies are in such good condition that I'm only going to need a scuff sanding on them, and that's just to give them a little tooth for that primer to bite onto and really hold in place. For your scuff sanding, you only need a 120 to 220 grit to do it, but because I get so many questions about what grit to use at what point in each stage of a project, I've actually compiled a list that I want to share with you guys. So pause this video and write these down. Keep those somewhere handy and refer to them whenever you need. Now that we have that out of the way, I am going to just get to work on these pieces to get them ready for the next step. First, I have to set the studio tone with a little background ambiance from my 2 favorite Gilmore Girls. I love me a trip to Stars Hollow. I'm going to use my Jasco stripper and I'm going to strip the top of the desk. I am going to strip that little table. I want to see what that top looks like. And I'm going to strip the seat of the chair. While the stripper's doing its job, I'm going to get to work on the hardware on this desk and get it off. This hardware is pretty neat. Only the centers of it come out. Now it's time to strip the old finish off, and I highly recommend using a decent plastic scraper to do this unless you're completely confident using a metal scraper, because there is the potential to gouge it if you're not careful. I just want to add on a side note how satisfying this is to do. I need to clean off the stripper, and the best way to do that I have found is just simple acetone. You don't need mineral spirits, you don't need fuel. Dump that acetone on, use double yacht steel wool, and you will clean this all up perfectly. And I do mean like perfectly. Now to try the little mahogany top. I don't have high hopes for this. It looked like it had a veneer on there that was damaged, that was missing in spots, that had already been rubbed off or worn off or even sanded off for that matter. There is a big blemish going down the middle where it's actually missing. So I don't really think that's going to be a possibility to stain this, but definitely was worth the effort trying. You never know what you're going to find underneath all the years of finish that's just sitting there. And I always say, even if it's an extra step or a waste of product in your mind, try it. You never know what you're going to find. But I'm going to pull my drawers out and I'm going to number them, which is very important. They like to go back where they came from. Now it's time for the scuff sand using my 120 grit, and I did start this by hand, but I very quickly realized that it just hurts too much and I can't do that, and I moved on to the power tools. And here is a great little tip for you. If you're working inside and you have a power tool that you can't attach a dust extractor to, take an ordinary plastic grocery bag and tie it around the filter area, if you will. This does hold back the dust that would come out of it, and it does help to minimize what comes in your shop. And when you're done, you just take it off and throw it away. Always make it easier on yourself. Work smarter, not harder. That's my motto. At least it is sometimes. Sometimes I forget, to be honest. Now it's time to move to the top. So I did start out using my mouse sander and an 80 grit on this piece. I want to work up. I'm going to go from 80 to 120 to 220, which will close the grain nicely. And I did find out quickly that this is going to need a little bit more of a workhorse here. So shut this off, and I went and got my big boy, which is my orbital sander. Those are amazing. They are the workhorses of the sanders. You just have to be really careful using them. It has to be a continuous even flow back and forth going with the grain. Otherwise, you'll get swirl depressions all over the finish and it will ruin it. But once you figure out how to use the orbital and glide with it, it's going to be one of your best friends when it comes to sanding because it does the job so many others can't. Next, it was the chair's turn for a good sanding, and as I was going over this, I was starting to realize that this is one of those faux wood pieces. Some components on these are in fact real wood and others are not. It's pressed board with a manufactured finish on it. It's almost like a veneer, which is why I'm able to sand it, but not all of this is real wood. So I'm actually not sure how this is going to turn out stain-wise, but I'm still going to move forward with my plan to try it out because you can't win if you don't play, right? Once I had the finish removed off the top and the seat, it was time to close the grain. So to close the grain, I am going to hand sand it with a 120 going over the 80 I just removed the finish with. And then once I have that done, I'm going to go on top of that with a 220. That's going to ensure I get an even but a smooth finish. I'm going to take the same steps on the chair, and then I'm going to spray everything down with water and wipe it good to get all the residue and anything left behind off. It's very, very important that your foundation starts off free and clear of all dust and dirt. As I vacuumed out the groove on the top, I was really able to absolutely see that the top of this is not all wood. I do believe the front and back are wood. I don't believe the side pieces are, and the middle insert definitely is not. This is a veneer of some form, and it's pressed wood in between. I do not know how the stain's going to take to this. I don't have very high hopes for it. I'm still going to push forward, though, because you never know, but yeah, the bar is pretty low for this working. The last thing I want to do today is get 2 coats of primer on this piece so it can sit and cure overnight. I'm going to use sticks on the piece because I want that extra bonding insurance, if you will, and I'm not exactly sure what this is made of, so I'm going to roll on the first coat and see how it looks. Primer is also a very important step in the foundation process, and it's hard to know which one to use. There are just so many choices out there. They each do something differently. You kind of have to feel your way through a project through trial and error to know whether or not you need a stain blocking primer, a bonding primer, a tinted primer, or just a regular primer. And don't feel bad if you don't know or you get it wrong. I still get it wrong every now and then. It's part of the process. And this is a perfect example of that lesson. After my first coat of primer dried, I noticed tannins were coming through, which told me I used the wrong primer. I need a stain blocking primer. So I took my pieces outside and I used an oil-based stain blocking primer for my second coat. Good morning, guys. It's actually been 48 hours. I've left all the pieces to cure, which they have, and I am very happy to see that there is no more tannins popping through. That final layer of the oil-based stain blocking primer that we put on there took care of that, thankfully. Wasn't sure if I would need one more, but we're good to go to the next step. So what I'm going to do now is I am first going to go over all of the pieces that are primed with a 320 grit sanding pad. And I'm doing this because I'm going to knock down the grain and the fuzz and the impurities that's left behind from the spray can. This is another very important step of the foundation because this ensures that your piece is going to be smooth. Nobody wants a rough piece, and every layer of wetness you put on something adds a little bit of roughness to it, so sanding in between is absolutely imperative. I'm just using a 320 grit sanding pad and it's doing exactly what I need it to. All right, now that we've got the grain knocked down and everything is butter smooth, we are going to move on to the next step, which is going to be working on the areas I stripped down to stain. But before we can stain them, there's something that I want to do to these pieces. When I'm working on a two-toned project, I like to start with the stain first. I just find it easier to paint over dried stain than to wipe off over stain onto new paint. It's just a personal preference. It really probably doesn't matter. It's just how I do it. But also because I'm impatient and I need to see what this grain looks like, which I know I could do with water, but I mean, I need to see the final result. Not an AI image, not what I think it's going to be, the actual final result itself. So that's why I like to do this. I'm just really kind of impatient. I own it. Now, because this piece originally had this orangey yellow finish on it, I know that this is gonna lean towards that orangey yellow color again. So I'm going to work to combat that, and I'm going to do a neutralizing paint wash on the piece first, meaning the top and the chair seat as well. But I'm gonna do a neutralizing paint wash using Algonquin with a ratio of 5:1. That's 5 parts water to 1 part paint. I have used this successfully many, many, many times, and why reinvent the wheel? I don't need to. This is what works. I also could have gone another direction with a green paint wash. Green is opposite red on the color wheel, and they neutralize each other. There's a little tip for you. If you don't know this, which you probably do because you're incredibly smart, you're here, aren't you? Seriously though, print off a color wheel and keep it somewhere in your shop or in your office, in a book, in your journal, wherever you're gonna see it, because that is what is going to tell you how to neutralize a color. Whatever is opposite the color you're trying to get rid of is the neutralizing color. I could do a green paint wash on this, believe it or not, and then go over it with stain, and the end result is going to be exactly what I want. Mind-blowing what you can do. But I choose the Algonquin because that's been my go-to never fail paint wash, and it always gives me the results I'm looking for. This is like winner chicken dinner here. It's just win-win all the way around.
Absolutely flawless
All right, you can really see the difference in the paint wash and how it really tones down the redness to the wood. This is exactly the base I need to lay the warm, rich stain that I want to put on here. And now I'm going to do the same to this, but I wanted to keep them separate to just show you what a difference. Paint wash is a furniture alchemy. It's like total magic where you can actually manipulate the outcome to what you want it to be. And that's what we're doing, manipulating it. So I'm gonna let that sit and dry, and I'm gonna get a nice coat of the paint wash on this.
every way. That's the day I'm having right now. I pinch my arm to believe.
Commissioned pieces are really important to do for your own big head because it's a test of ego that you have to pass. You're doing the pieces for them, not for you. It's not what I want or what I want to do. It's what they want only, and you have to have the restraint to just say, okay, and get it done. Look how good that looks already. So different. Once the paint wash dried, I went over all the areas with a 320 grit sanding pad again to knock the grain down. I was going to use the Voodoo Gel stain on this piece. I was really looking forward to trying it, but I only bought 3 shades and none of them are right for what I'm going for, so I'm going to revert to my go-to gel stain. I love the way Minwax Chestnut stain works with the paint wash. It gives me that really rich, deep wood tone that's truly neutral. It's just a beautiful, beautiful shade of a neutral brown, and that's all I really want for this piece. Just brown. Is that too much to ask? No, thanks to Minwax.
I wish I could stay right here and never leave. Wait up, sundown, wait a while. I
Once again, we have a prime example of shit happens. And what happens is this isn't all wood, just like I thought it wasn't. There are wooden components to it, which took the stain beautifully. And then there's the center, which is like a manufactured finish on a veneer. And it's just not taking the stain at all. It's sliding, it looks horrible, it's blotchy, it is not what I wanted. The edges look beautiful, I was so happy and so stoked, but the center's not doing it. So now I'm gonna have to pivot. Gotta roll with it, it's just the way it goes sometimes, you know? Not everything works. Believe me, I know. I want to get a coat of primer all over this top. Foundation is everything, guys. That's what this whole episode is about today. And I would not be doing myself or this piece justice if I didn't give it the proper foundation. So I'm just gonna go over this with a coat of my Sticks primer. I'm not necessarily worried about tannings coming through. Please, I really don't want to tape this off and spray it. So I'm gonna go over it with Sticks and roll that on and see what we have. And then we're gonna proceed. Before I roll the primer on, I'm actually going to give this a scuff sand using the 320 sanding pad. I want to make sure it's smooth because that's what's going to give me the professional finish in the end, and then I'm going to move right into getting the primer on. It's important to lay the foundation once again so the Algonquin paint will have something to bite onto. You can't just go right over the glaze and think everything's going to last and stay. I really can't stress it enough. Foundation truly is everything. And now the foundations are ready for paint, and that's the fun part.
How come the stars come to shine when it's dark from so far away? Show us where we are. What makes the sun go to sleep every night, and what's it dreaming of? I wonder.
The glaze is cured, everything is looking fabulous, and now it's time to wrap this up. I'm going to very quickly go over all of the prime pieces again with a damp rag to make sure there's no debris that is on there because they've been sitting around for a few days waiting for different aspects to come together. And I want to make sure my foundation is free and clear of any debris or dirt. And then it's time for the color. They gave me this sample piece. This is the color that they want, and I tried matching it with 5 different brands that I had on hand to no avail whatsoever. So at that point, I took my little sample down to Lowe's and I had them color match it. And can I just say, this color reminds me of the country blue duck era of the 80s, which is kind of nostalgic, but also horrifying because it's reminding me of some seriously questionable design decisions I've made through the years.
And that's all I have to say about that.
I love to go over my foundation for a super smooth finish using my Purdy Mirror Finish Nap mini rollers. It gives me the same results that people using sprayers get, which is why I don't use one, and I'm gonna get 2 coats on the pieces.
How come the sky sometimes hides behind the clouds? Maybe it's just like me, a little bit scared of heights. Why does the rain always keep on pouring down when it's gray outside? It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder.
There's nothing fun or glamorous or even creative about laying the foundation, but without the foundation down, your project's not going to last. Not only is it important to know the right steps to take to lay the proper foundation down, but it's also crucial to execute those and make sure you take those steps. It doesn't matter if a paint says it's an all-in-one. Nothing can be an all-in-one. If you think of the chemical composition of primer by itself, and then you look at a paint that's supposed to be a paint, a top coat, and a primer in it, which one do you think has the durability to really do it all? That's my motto. I don't care what anybody says how good something is. I always use a primer with a paint, and I always use a top coat. This is my name and my work, and I want to make sure that what goes out of my studio is going to last for a very long time, because these people are paying very good money to have me do this to them. And I'm not going to have anything other than stellar work leave my studio, and I know laying the proper foundation is going to give me that stellar name. I hope this was informative for you. I hope you have learned all about the importance of foundation. And for those of you that are still with me at the end, leave me a house emoji in honor of the foundation. Not every aspect of every project is fun, but every step in every project is a necessary one. And you've got to start with the foundation, which is what we covered today. And now you guys have a thorough knowledge of what you need to do in any situation, right down to when the top of the desk went wrong. I didn't just go over that with paint. I redid the base. My foundation was laid again with another sand and another coat of primer, and I know for a fact that's also going to last. Peter has had these pieces forever and ever, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have them forever and forevermore. Well, I have to say it felt good getting back into the studio, but it's gonna feel even better getting to the next project we're going to get to, because I am back to making the furniture I love to make, and I want you guys along for the ride. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is a great time to do so. If you enjoyed this video, a simple thumbs up goes so far for small channels like mine. I know everybody says that, but it really is true. Every interaction you give to me helps keep me going so that I can hang out with you guys more, because that's what this is all about. This channel isn't about growing at light speed and becoming an influencer in any regards. It's always been about the community and bringing people like you together with people like me so that we can have some fun in the studio doing things we love to do. Whether that's participating, watching, or just rooting us on, you're all part of it, and I am grateful for each and every one of you here. So, till next time, stay grounded, stay glowing, and always stay in your element, guys. Bye, friends.